Welcome back. Today we're going to do sort of fun video. So we're going to do a project number 2. We're going to throw away everything we learned because you're going to learn new stuff. We'll technically build on the old stuff we learned. So today we're going to do an introduction to JSON, API, and jQuery and AJAX. So our goal is try to implement a code where users able to search Wikipedia pages. And I have to say, since I think if I do it live, it's probably going to take 2 hours. So I actually have a cheat sheet ready. Yes, but I'm going to try though to not look at it. But I have a cheat sheet ready just in case. And here is documentation. If you would like to take a look, here's a link, which should also link on the description below. Alright, so let's get to in JSON. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Alright, so it's just a really fancy way to talk about objects, arrays, object in the object, stuff like that. So it just looks really fancier, but it turns out ultimately it's just a object. So if you recall, this example right here is a JSON object. Sorry. So it's commonly used when you get a request from the API with servers, which in this case we're going to implement today. And if we take a look at this JSON API specifically, so this is the JSON object. So first curly bracket, and then inside the first element, company, and this is a string value, and then this is object within object, which is company contact. Then we got employees, which is employees, which is technically an object. So this is an array in an object in an array in an object. Okay, so we have arrays, we have objects. Yeah, so just make it more fancier, but ultimately the stuff is the same. And this diagram is from techplanet.com. You can see the original diagram right there, which is also going to link in the description below. Yeah, so that's all about JSON. Yeah, because I don't really have much thing to talk about. It's actually a file type, surprisingly. So this can be either saved as a JavaScript file or a JSON file. The extension for JSON file is .json. Now let's move on to API. So this stands for Application Programming Interface. What a fancy word. And technically speaking, you're using API every single day, whether you are using computer or not, whether it's related to computer or not. Because technically, API is the set of instruction for you. So for example, if I say, if I use a Google map, like an app, tell me where to go, so it said after 200 feet, turn right. Then after 100 feet, turn left. Then your destination is on the right. It's an API because I'm following the direction. And in computer-wise, in programming-wise, API is a way to connect different websites together. For example, you can use Google Map API to access Google Maps service. As a Google Map is not really popular. It's actually still popular, but now you really need to need a credit card setup. Probably I'm going to do a Google Map API because it's a little bit fancy. Probably I'm going to do with Python Flask. And it's a really powerful tool since it can save developer a lot of time by using interface provided by other developers. So such as you didn't invent Google Maps. Google's developer did. So you're using Google's work. And it saves a lot of time for just creating maps from scratch. And as the internet grows, there's tend to be more API call every second. And for today, we were using Postman for some basic API testing. So if we go to Postman, right here, you can go to getpostman.com, or just go to postman.com, and then here is Postman homepage, and you can just need to download. So just go to postman.com/downloads, and it says it's my MacBook, so it's find its default MacBook, where you can also download for Windows or Linux. I'm not sure is that for app, probably not for app, but yeah, that's how the image look like. And this, after you do that, please open it up. So it should be default look like this. If it's asks you to log in, just register account. Probably you can use it with Google and sign in. And this is what we're going to do when we're doing initial JavaScript. Alright. So let's keep going on our Google Slides. Sorry if it's a little bit boring, but that's really the best way to interact, because this is right now is a Siri based. It's not really hands-on yet. And a few more things we need to talk about is take a look in here. If you click this drop down and find it, it's how a lot of stuff posted, such as get, post, put, patch, delete, copy, head, options, link on link, purge, lock, unlock, find, and view. So this is what we call HTTP request, where basically it tells you what do you want to do. Yeah, basically. And the fun fact, post is not actual post information. Post is just a more security way of get. So basically, get is pretty literal, where you just basically substitute your information into the parameter. For example, if you want to go to https google.com, actually let me make an interaction right now. So if we go to google.com, alright, and we just search Google, now you're going to see a question mark with a parameter set up. And the parameter is like search question mark. So this is a route, and SXSRF. I'm not sure what that stands for, but this is Google. So this is something you will do. This is an example of GET request. Alright. What a POST request is going to be is going to be exactly the same thing, except it doesn't have anything, just have route. While the information is secretly posted, such as when we register account, we need to use password field, we need some security. This is a great way to set everything up. Alright, so let's get back. And the information returned is usually in JSON format. It's also kind of in XML format, or just in regular plain HTML or in plain text. It depends. But in this time, we're going to use JSON. So now we do have a little problem. Actually, we will actually go ahead and working on our API call for a little bit, because we can use get Postman. So I suggest you go to HTTP. Just go to mediawiki.org/wiki/capitalize API capitalize as small rest of the search, where you can just as well as click on this link here. So we're going to learn how to using get Postman for a little bit. So this should be the page, the API documentation, which is usually really helpful. And if you take a look, they have a bunch of parameter that you can sort. But we will take a look. We'll skip off that. You can take a look if you want to see detailed information. But we ultimately care about this. This is the information we care about the most, because this is the result of the JSON file. So you can take a look how that works, and you can substitute different stuff, such as this is api.php, which is a PHP file. We're probably going to learn a little bit PHP. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make a tutorial on that. And the action is queries. What kind of API it is? I suppose this is search, and that I'm searching for Nelson Mandela, which is a really famous person. And remember, you must do UTF-8 encoding. What this does is UTF-8 is like a universal code something, so like a computer can easily understand. I'm not sure the difference, so I'm going to actually try. This is with UTF-8. Without UTF-8, it does not really change anything at all, but probably change something in the computer. Alright. So we must substitute UTF-8, and the format, make sure you know it's JSON. And the responses should be like that. And sample code may also be useful. We unfortunately though we're not going to use Python. We use JavaScript. This is not what I've been using. I've been using a little bit complicated, but a little bit easy to understand. Yeah. Alright, so this is all about API documentation. So why don't I just copy the link here? And let's try to make, actually I already make an API request. But let's see, let's make an API request in here. So now after you paste the entire link to here, you're gonna find there's 4 parameters being automatically specified for you, such as action is query, list is search, as our search is Nelson Mandela, and format is JSON. So this is automatically sorted for you, where you can also add additional keys such as additional key, and you can see it's also automatically added for you. All right, let's go ahead and make a send, and indeed, you're seeing the JSON data sent back to you. And you can also make different search, such as what if I just want to search Wikipedia? And you can see it's updating here, and you can see there's also Wikipedia here. So Wikipedia have its own information, so you can find Wikipedia on Wikipedia. Alright, so that's probably all we're going to use Postman here. Alright. So, but now we still have a problem though. We know how to make a pure API connection in Postman, which is in browser. We still don't know how to use the in vanilla JavaScript though. So how can we do that? Well, we can do that by using jQuery. Let me do a little bit background for you. So jQuery is actually another kind of API, but it's not like web API or third-party API. It's like a JavaScript library. So the purpose of jQuery is to make it much faster and easier to use JavaScript on your website. Although recently jQuery is not that popular anymore because JavaScript, also have a lot of power. The jQuery is not really necessarily needed. But for this, still need jQuery. Actually, I tried to do it in pure vanilla JavaScript, but it keep telling me I have a course error, which probably eventually we're going to get on, which is we are going to try to use XML HTTP request, but keep telling me a course error. I don't know how to solve that. So you're gonna use AJAX, which is one of the most important functions in jQuery. AJAX. So AJAX is the art of exchanging data with a server, updating parts of a web page without reloading the whole page. So this is quote from W3 Schools. And we're going to use AJAX to interact with Wikipedia server. Alright, so let's take a look. How can we work in this AJAX? So now, let's start with actual code. So go to codepen.io, and then we're going to start a new codepen. Alright, hopefully you are ready. And the first thing we're going to do is actually a little bit HTML. As you can see, I hide the whole CSS tab because we're not going to use CSS. So it's going to look really ugly. You can add your CSS later on your own. But yeah, we're going to primarily focus on JavaScript. Alright, so this is form. And in the form tag, we're going to have two input. Alright, let me go get rid of this. It is really alright, let's go ahead and set required. I'm going to actually create a div just in case we have any error. Alright. So now, yep, I think everything is set up. And so basically what I did is just fine line of HTML code. Basically I created a form. In the form we have a text field, a button, and below the form we also have an air div. Alright, so let's actually start working on the JavaScript part. So we're going to create a function using onClick. It's called API request, and I don't need any of these. So first thing first is API request. I will not taking any parameter. This is just a function, so I'm going to do while I comment. So API request function, which is useless, but let's get started. So first thing is, so this is our URL, right? So this is a URL that's what we'll be making API requests to. But we do need to change a little bit. We do need to change this part because we cannot hardcode for Wikipedia. But let's leave it for now. Okay. So now let's start working with AJAX request. So what we should do is we use $sign. So every time we try to access anything in jQuery, it's usually start with $sign, with .ajax, and a parenthesis and curly braces. Alright, so now we can start making our AJAX request. The first parameter we need to specify is URL. So, which is URL is just going to be our URL. We just specified at the top. And the type, which I mentioned briefly earlier, is going to be get. So HTTP request going to use And so for this one, we also need to add two more extra things. It's called cross domain, which is check for course. So it's a comma, checks for course. I'm not going to target really deep into course, but basically it's just a access error. So allow course and data type. And data type is JSON. But it's not really JSON. It's have P at the end. I'm not sure what that P do. But yeah. So that is our AJAX. And then if request is success, here's what we're going to do. So now I'm gonna use another parameter called success. So basically this thing saying if this thing if the AJAX request is success. So you can say function, we need to create a function that takes a parameter called result. And blank. Dent it a little bit. Or if it doesn't get it, which means if we have an error called function, then taking error as our parameter, and probably can just say right now, so we can say document dot get element by d, so it's error, the text content, let's just say inner text equals error semicolon. And then I'm going to also console.log error as well to our console. Alright. So now I can start working on our success function. So if we take a look at the return data, here's what we want. We want the thing to search. Search is the object we care most. So how can we get search? So first thing, my plan is to use a for loop through every single element. And then I can create elements that append to the body. But there's a problem though. Cause I have to know that how many search did I get. Well, luckily, we have a JavaScript has a function called objects.keys and .length. So it takes .keys taking in a parameter that is tell you which object it is and gonna give you the length. So I can just say get length the search object. So what we'll try to do is we can say const total searches was object dot keys result. So remember, we're taking a parameter called result. I'm sorry, we're going to use it. And recall, how do we access objects is by using bracket notation. We can say query because it is inside a query object. Then we can say it is inside of a search object and oh, sorry, I forget to do a step. So, if you are not using CodePen.io, you're just using your default, local code editor. What you need to do is you need to make sure it includes JavaScript. This is not native JavaScript. So make sure you add script https://cdn.cdn.js cloudflare.com/ajax/lab/jQuery/3.4.1 jQuery.min.js. Make sure it's exactly the same. For you, whoever is using, so for whoever is actually using CodePen, what you can do alternatively is you can go to settings, click on JS tab, and search for CDNs. So we can just say jQuery. And 3.4.1, we can save and close. And let me make sure I close this tab. And there you go. Okay, so whether is that thing? Let me try to refresh the page. Okay. Probably don't need this. Hopefully I don't. Why don't we try to give some input? So okay. Why does it have this at the top? Alright. Okay, so it's keep telling me that does need a function name. I don't think so actually because try to do console.log total searches. We can say Wikipedia. Okay, we need to add an on-click. I don't know why this thing has an on-click. Okay, let's try this. If your request is not defined. Why is it so hard to code? API request. It's literally defined right here. See, even if I do it earlier, it's still going to face so many errors. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to stop here. There are just so many errors going on that I need to figure out why. I don't want to spend 2 hours recording all of that. So, yep, this can count as an intro to Wikipedia API. And we'll see when we record next video. Thank you for watching.